What's something only kids who grew up poor would understand? When I was in 3rd grade, our teacher announced we'd be going on a field trip to the Science Museum. The room lit up with excitement. Kids started chatting about what they'd see, what they'd bring, who they'd sit next to on the bus. Everyone was thrilled, except me. I knew what field trips meant. It meant permission slips with price tags. This one was $15. That might not sound like much, but to us, it was grocery money. I didn't need to ask my mom. I already knew she couldn't afford it. Still, I brought the form home. It was what you did. I handed it to her without saying a word and went to my room. Later that night, I found her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the permission slip like it was a bill she couldn't pay. She sifted through unopened mail, bills, collection notices, late fees, silently doing the math in her head. After a long pause, she looked at me and said, "I'll figure it out, baby." I knew what that meant. She'd skip meals, walk to work instead of taking the bus, buy the cheap cereal instead of the kind we liked. Figure it out always meant a quiet kind of sacrifice. She never complained. She just adjusted. The next day at school, Ms. Wilson asked who hadn't turned in their slips. I raised my hand, along with 2 other kids. She sighed and said to stay after class. When the bell rang and the others filed out, she asked the first 2 why they hadn't brought theirs. They mumbled something about forgetting. Then she turned to me. I swallowed hard. "My mom doesn't have the money right now," I whispered. Her expression softened instantly. The teacher mask came off, and for a second, she just looked like someone who understood. She didn't say much, just nodded and thanked me for being honest. Then she walked the other 2 kids to the hallway. When she returned, she handed me a sealed envelope. "Give this to your mom," she said gently. That night, my mom opened it at the kitchen table. Inside was a simple note. "Congratulations. Your child has won a spot on our field trip through a random classroom drawing. No payment is needed. We're so excited to have them join us." There was no drawing. My mom knew it. I knew it. She stared at the note for a while, then folded it carefully, almost like it was something sacred. She didn't say anything, just wiped her eyes and wrote a thank you note. I tucked it into my backpack the next morning. I went on the trip, rode the bus, ate lunch with my friends, walked through exhibits and watched a science show and laughed, pretended not to know what that envelope had really been. Years later, after I became a teacher myself, I found out the full story. Ms. Wilson had been covering field trip costs out of her own pocket for years. Dozens of random winners, always 1 or 2 each trip. Never announced, never acknowledged, not even the principal knew. She just did it quietly because she remembered what it felt like to be the kid who couldn't go. Now, I keep an envelope in my desk labeled Field Trip Fund. It's just a few bills at a time. Sometimes I slip in a 20, sometimes a little more when I can. I don't advertise it, but it's there, ready to make sure one of my kids never has to raise their hand when the class is buzzing with excitement and say, "I forgot," when what they really mean is, we can't. Because if you grew up poor, you know the hardest part isn't missing the trip. It's having to explain why.